What's up, one and all? Happy Tuesday. It's Rumor and Innuendo. I'm Dominic D'Angelo of adfreeshows.com, SEScoops.com, several other podcasts, but I am here with Robert Karplus, WE Creative _ish. Robert, how do you feel now that I have your physical address now? Are you concerned?
Way to bring off-air stuff on air, Dom. I love it. Yes, we have a new sponsor. It's coming up. They have not started yet, but they're going to be sending us some product. And Dom apparently is my new secretary. I don't know why they're personal assistant. I think that's the more PC term. And Dom just texted me. He's like, "I need your address." The good news, Dom. It's a gated community, so your ass ain't getting in here. Not in that sleeveless shirt.
But the love letters will.
God damn it! All right, let's get to some of the comments. Good morning, everybody. We got Stuart Green here. Good afternoon, Dom and Robert, and all my fellow RIN jobbers. That is a derogatory term. We're looking for another episode of the best wrestling pod going. Stuart, we're gonna take that. Antonio Santos says, "Happy Tuesday, fellas. Time for some relaxation and inebriation. I mean, rumor and innuendo." You do you at noon on a Tuesday, my man. Oh,
Robert,
good morning, you guys.
Robert's frozen. Who can you hear? There you are.
Did I freeze?
You froze. You froze, man.
That was crazy. I was clearly inebriated there for a moment. I don't know what happened there for a second, but also, Jake says, "Just finished the most recent working SIF. I don't know how you handle Scott acting like AEW is art and good every week. Also, there was no hijacking an airplane. WTF was he on about?" So, to that end, is the tribalism that exists within wrestling is one side is always going to vehemently defend the thing that they love and is never going to say anything positive about the other side, no matter what. And I was incredibly guilty of that for a number of years during the Monday Night Wars because I was a WWF kid. And when you had the NWO and you had all the stuff with Sting and Nitro was beating Raw handily, I'm like, no, guys, you don't understand. Duke the Dumpster Drose and Adam Bomb is a classic. I totally get it. When you love something and you want to make it look great, like I have been at the low points creatively of a number of things that I genuinely enjoy, and you kind of put blinders on. Ironically enough, the segue here is the blinders for me were off last night for Raw, as this may have been my least favorite episode of Monday Night Raw in months.
Really?
Probably since the Paul Triple H Levesque took over. Dom, what did you think of Raw?
I'm on the complete opposite side of all that, and I thought it was my favorite Raw since probably Mania. Believe it or not,
It was like a bit.
No, not at all. I watched it this morning, and I liked a lot about it, Robert. I liked a lot. What air your grievances on some of this? What do you want to start off with dealer's choice here?
Well, first of all, the crowd didn't help matters.
I agree with that.
I think this was a particularly weak crowd. The audience, especially during the Women's Queen of the Ring qualifier match, was so dead that it made it very difficult to really get into the meat of the match, because there was just crickets. Like, you just heard individual people saying, like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I did not like anything in the first half hour, the Sami Zayn, Chad Gable stuff. I thought none, and I'm a huge Sami Zayn fan, huge Chad Gable fan, friends of Chad Gable. So it's like, I obviously want them to succeed. Where my first disconnect was, we announced yesterday on the show that it was going to be Chad Gable versus Sami Zayn.
Right.
And I never like when they pretend that they haven't already announced a match. And so you have Sami coming out there in his gear. And you're like, we know he's going to wrestle. And then Gable comes out. And Chad, for whatever reason, was so cartoony, so over the top with what he was doing, that it was distracting. Maybe it was the robe. It was like that Robert Roode robe, which someone reminded me they used to be tag team partners, which I forgot. Um, and then during the match, constantly berating the Alpha. It felt very just cartoony in what has been a really serious, well done presentation. And for me, was a huge disconnect. Maybe I'm alone on this branch here, Dom.
Well, yeah. So I can kind of get with you on some of that, because I think if they make it a long-term kind of thing where Chad's acting like a goofball, it could really be detrimental to kind of his new turn. But I think if it's kind of, if they get a little bit more serious moving forward, I'm not as concerned, I think. I think too that the match itself, if you noticed, he got some Kurt Angle "you suck" chants after the match.
He did. Look, the crowd got behind what they were trying to tell. I think there's two sort of issues here. The first is the entry point to this story was that very real, very dramatic moment with Chad Gable's daughter crying and Chad feeling like he let his family down, and then attacking Sammy in front of Sammy's wife. That all felt genuine. It felt authentic. It felt real.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the mannerisms and acting, especially with Maxine and Tozawa, it felt like he was yelling at cartoon characters.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that he was yelling at them was super over the top, that you were sort of taken away from it. I like the idea of Otis being conflicted, and you want to see Otis break away, but he's still sucked into that wanting the approval of Gable. But it felt odd. And I'm also a little concerned that they're saving the Otis face turn for the PLE, when I don't know if the Saudi crowd is going to be as read in on the storylines as with our audience.
Yeah, that's true. That it doesn't seem like you would want to do that over there, because I mean there's just a bunch of Saudi people with couches and not paying attention and texting on their phones. It seems you can always see. So I agree with that. I think you don't maybe want to do the turn there. Maybe continue to tease something or have something happen that you can kind of have some more conflict the next night on Raw, or whenever it may be when they get back. So I'm kind of with you on that. What other exceptions did you take with this?
Sure. The way that they utilized Judgment Day throughout the show, I get we're in a transition period with them. It's not as compelling as the transition period with the Bloodline, and that's fine. They did not anticipate Dom being injured. They didn't anticipate Rhea being injured. So you're working a little on the fly. But Damian Priest is almost venturing into Swerve territory of, I'm not even the top 10 most important people on the show, and I'm your world champion. I get that there's not a world title match at the PLE on Saturday, and you're pushing this down the road, but both Priest and Drew felt like significant afterthoughts when those are two major stars. And this was a difficult show to write, because your two biggest matches are qualifying matches for a tournament. So the degree of storytelling is a little it's a little iffy. There's a story, but it's not a deep story. So elsewhere, you need something to make up for it. And you just have like the Judgment Day as sort of these bungling goofs. And excuse me, usually I like a little bit of comedy in my wrestling. That's always my in my sweet spot, my wheelhouse. I didn't love the moment where Carlito turns to Damian Priest and was like, "You see what happened in the Knicks?" Like, Carlito's on Raw because he violently attacked the LWO. He violently attacked Dragon Lee. He turned Mysterio, and because he's a hunted man, he's forced to like align with the Judgment Day to protect his own hide. You don't need the haha there. You don't need Carlito to seem sympathetic in any way, shape, or form. He needs to seem like a rat who jumped ship and is now hiding on another ship with pirates trying to blend in. I have not been this critical of Raw in a long time, guys. Usually I'm the Scott Chaplin of Raw, but this was just, I don't know.
Yeah, I think from like a match and some of the people that they positioned over the course of the show, I was really engaged with, and I think this was a good showcase of them utilizing their, lack of a better term, universe that they have, and using the backstage areas. It feels more like a world than it does like, oh, this is the paint by numbers show that you've been used to Raw for over the course of the years. I think that you're seeing more growth in that. I think
You are, but you also need something sort of telling to it. Another example, not to pile. This is like pile on Tuesday, and I'll find positive things to say. Miz, the Miz promo with I'm talking about Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
Was such bad acting from Miz, and Miz is usually read, and he's usually pretty good about it. But that, like, Andre, if you're up there, we could use you. Like, that was straight out of a mid-90s Disney movie. Like, this was Angels in the Ring. Like, we don't need this, guys. Awesome Truth hasn't really worked since they've won the tag titles, which is a shame because R-Truth was very, very entertaining. Miz's rapping is so bad that it's starting to feel intentional. I'm hoping it's intentional.
Yeah.
But it is rough. Then Braun Strowman, it's like you're forced to have to use him because he's like somebody's nephew. Like, I get it. Hunter
like Horace Hogan, you mean?
He's got a Horace Hogan vibe to him. It's like you don't want Braun to wrestle. Maybe he's not cleared. Maybe it's just because he's not. But I don't know. It's just you're like finding ways to use him when you don't need to use him, and it feels weird and disconnected. So then next week we're gonna get him versus JD McDonough.
Mm-hmm.
It's leaning a little too into when Raw was just going through the motions, and I think that's a lot of my frustrations. I think that the women's match, Lyra and Io, was a very solid match that was definitely hindered by the crowd. And now that we know that Lyra has won, kind of know who's going to win Queen of the Ring, don't we?
Yeah, got that little suspicion there, huh? We got that connection all there.
I think I was unfortunately right. That we're going to see Queen Nia.
Well, what did I want to say? I did like that women's match. I thought that was really good, and I thought it did put Valkyria. Did I say it right?
You did. See,
Valkyria.
All you need is one terrible episode of Raw, and Dom is just firing on all cylinders.
I think that was a great match. I really liked it, and I thought it put her in a great position too. Even if she doesn't win the tournament, she beat Io Sky. It's a big thing, and so yeah, I think that cultivated some growth there. We obviously saw some growth with Otis. We saw some growth with Braun Breaker, who I haven't talked about yet. But I will say, yeah, I'm kind of with you on the R-Truth and Miz thing. It's just a huge disconnect for me. I think a little too over the top with the haha there, especially. And it did, yeah, they're not working for me as the tag champs. Those belts look great, though. I'll say titles look great. So I'll say that much. But yeah, otherwise, Gunther and Jey Uso. Did you have thoughts on that, Robert? We're getting the Raw. We're getting the Raw video cut with Robert here. He's walking through.
I was walking from one room to another. I was in my kitchen that I usually don't record in, and for whatever reason, I have insanely fast Wi-Fi, and when I'm recording this, suddenly it's like not working at the moment. So I'm blessed with Scott Chaplin Wi-Fi today. But thank you for taking a quick tour of parts of my home. Anyway, as I was saying. What was the match we were talking about?
So I was talking.
You asked me what I was
all over the place. I was all over the place there, but I did lead into Gunther and Jey Uso.
Oh, okay. I was going to talk about Braun first. We'll talk about Gunther and Jey Uso.
Yeah, we'll talk about Braun afterwards. Yeah.
So I thought that they didn't give them as much time as I thought they were going to give them, and I was surprised about the finish just because. Is Jey Uso somebody that they feel this comfortable beating and beating in a submission? I get you want to make Gunther strong, and I'm all about making Gunther strong, but I don't know that I necessarily would have gone with the choke out finish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I also think to your other point, the crowd not being into it just kind of felt like a little drabby in a certain way, like, and that it didn't pack as much as a punch as I thought it was going to. And I don't think this is on Jay or Gunther at all. Like, I know Jay had the WrestleMania match with Jimmy, and that was kind of like, oh man, what, and high expectations on that match too initially. And I had high expectations for this one, but this one didn't really hit for me, so to speak. and yeah, I think it's cool. Gunther's gonna be in the finals and stuff like that. I think he could have went either way and kind of made a good story for each of them. But yeah, this match didn't really do it for me, to be honest.
Jey Uso last week with Dragunov didn't connect with me. This one didn't connect with me. The Mania match obviously didn't connect. I want Jey Uso to be wildly successful. I think he's got a lot of personality and a lot of charisma. There's just something going on of late that isn't fully working, and I can't quite put my finger on what it is. The other challenge, I think, two of the
Robert freezing up. Can you hear me? Well, if you guys can hear me, I will say that with Gunther and Jay, I'm kind of with him on the pace. Like, I think what I would say in regards to when it comes to Jay and maybe what his issue is, maybe the pacing. I think the pacing might have an issue with it. It's just when the kind of like the fire that he brings sometimes, I think might kind of be a little undertoned in certain ways. So I think that might be kind of a problem. That's just my initial observation, initial thought when watching these Jay's matches. You want to see a little bit more. Not that he doesn't have energy, but you want to see a little bit more, I think, gumption into it or fire into that. So that's kind of where I'm at with Gunther and with Jey Uso. I love the personality. He's over. I think the in match stuff is kind of a little different though. That might need some tweaking. So Robert is back. Let's see if he gets. Hey, doing better there?
Yeah, my Wi-Fi literally just went down for a minute, so they maybe Comcast sometimes does work, and they decided to just turn off people's Wi-Fi. So now here I am in the room where the router is. It looks like I'm in the attic. This is a this is actually the reverse angle of what I normally am. The bookshelves on the other side.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah, so we're getting a full tour of almost every room in the manner that you were not allowed into, Dom. But Braun Breaker.
Yes, let's talk about him. What did you think of how they utilized him this week?
I like the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Again, execution did not work for me. The fact is that Braun Breaker is supposed to be annoyed that he was not in the King of the Ring tournament, so he's going to take it out on Kale Dixon. I learned the name of the enhancement talent.
Nice
job.
We
would never call someone a jobber here. But you know what it was? Because I saw on Facebook Jim Varsalone, who writes down here, worked for the Miami Herald, Sun Sentinel, has been covering wrestling nationally and internationally, posted a picture on Facebook that he was with Kale Dixon on Saturday at an NXT show, and then the kid was on Raw Monday night, which I think is kind of cool. But the extent of the beatdown after, like, you can just beat the kid and pin him. I don't need the chair shots. I don't need the steel steps or any of that nonsense. Like, just make him look like a killer. I don't need him to seem unhinged and insane when this really was his Raw debut. And you have to introduce him to the audience in full before they're going to buy into what have you. Or change the last name to Steiner. And just lean into, well, this dude's family's crazy, so we know he's crazy.
Right. I think, I liked him being on the show so prominently and then making him such a big factor on the program overall. A lot going on. I think the big exception I took with everything is like when Ricochet and Dragunov were backstage and Braun Spears Ricochet through that stand or whatever you want to call it, the equipment,
the anvil cases, but yeah.
But why didn't Ilya step in?
That was weird. It almost sounded like Ricochet was crying.
Yes, it did
when he got hit, which was awkward and disjointed. On top of just otherwise awkward and disjointed. Like, Braun doesn't need weapons. Like, Braun Breaker is a very physical guy. Like, he's very fast, and most importantly, he's very stiff. And guys, if you're looking to be very stiff, can we recommend our friends at Blue Chew? This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Let's talk about sex. Guys, remember the days when you were always ready to go? Now you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. Visit BlueChew.com. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription.
Uh-oh. Right during the ad read. Within days, guys.
Oh,
Yeah.
within days, and then it froze?
Then it froze, yes.
Can't make this up. Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. Chew it and do it. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code RUMOR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code RUMOR to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this episode of Rumor and Innuendo.
Yeah, thank you, Blue Chew. Chew it and do it, baby. Robert, what'd you think of Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan? Their exchange, is that selling you on anything, or where are you kind of at on that one?
Didn't really connect with me as much as I thought.
I'm with you on that one too. I don't know. What do you think of Liv as this kind of like obnoxious heel? Like, is she fitting that role? Or is that where the disconnect is here?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Like, Liv was a sympathetic babyface. She had a good storyline going into this idea of Rhea Ripley took me out. I'm on a revenge tour. I'm back. This is my opportunity. Obviously, Rhea going down. Now you're pivoting to Liv being a heel. I don't know if the audience necessarily buys her as a heel. I don't know if the audience necessarily buys her as a threat. And I think those are two major concerns going into a show. The advantage is both of them very, very talented, and Becky and Liv will have a very good match at the PLE in front of an audience that's just sort of happy to be there.
Yeah, it's I'm not feeling it with it. I think it's a good feud. I think to the extent that you can give Liv the title at this juncture and give Becky a breather if you really want to, and maybe that'll make more sense. And maybe it'll elevate Liv a little bit more and have more of a direction once she has the title, if that's the route they decide to take. But yeah, it's this didn't hit too much for me either. And it's funny because I really liked the show. Like I said, I think it was my favorite Raw since Mania. And I think it was more so in credit to the production and the creative decision making of how they film things and set a tone for the area and for the venue. That sounds kind of weird, but I know
there was a looseness to the show, which is definitely appreciated. I liked the Gunther empty arena promo. I thought that was especially effective. But when I look at what the Raws have been of late, this just didn't feel like a very tight show. It didn't feel like a very impactful and important show outside of, well, now we know who's representing Raw for King and Queen of the Ring.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting thing to kind of going into this go home show of Crown Jewel, not Crown Jewel, Jesus, Queen of the Ring.
King and Queen of the Ring.
Holy smokes.
Not at all. It just rolls right off the tongue. I also like that you somehow initialed it with KQOTR, which sounds like almost like a radio station.
Come on,
KQOTR. Talking nothing but Raw and AEW. And actually, what else do we have on tap for the 6 minutes we got left on the show?
So there was stuff I wanted to kind of string together when it came to some things, but
that's usually how the show works. We string things together, a variety of different stories.
Yeah, so I want to talk Mark Henry. AEW's contract, his Fightful Select has reported that his contract is set to expire this month. He was a former WWE Heavyweight Champion, Hall of Famer, but signed with AEW in 2021. And now he just made his debut, now he's set to leave. It doesn't, from what it seems, it doesn't seem like they might re-sign him because they would have done it already, I would think. But just obviously in a different state of tone than what Cody Rhodes was. And, he's in a different stage of his career. but seems like misutilized, underutilized. I think it kind of just speaks to that, Robert, that, hey, we're losing yet another one here probably from AEW.
Makes sense, though, because part of Mark Henry's strengths, things you don't see on television, he is a great recruiter.
Mhm.
He fills that role that Gerald Briscoe used to fill, where Mark Henry can go to a lot of these different collegiate athletic events, and he can go ahead and talk to these talents and try to pull them in. And when AEW doesn't have a scouting program anymore, they had Dark and Dark Elevation, which Henry was a part of. That's no longer a thing. I mean, Mark Henry, if he were to go back to WWE, having an opportunity to recruit talent for NXT, is a great use of his talent. He'd be a good coach to have around there as well. And I don't believe he's in the Hall of Fame, so he fits a Hall of Famer moment.
No, he's a Hall of Famer.
Is he in the Hall of Fame?
Yep,
I couldn't remember if they inducted him or not.
Yeah, I don't know what year, but he's definitely a Hall of Famer, I think, because they always label him that on.
Oh, it even says he's already a Hall of Famer in your notes. I'm begging.
Yeah, that does make sense, but it just seems like, oh, another guy they didn't use. Like, it speaks to AEW, I think, in the scheme of them not taking advantage of people and making the most of them. 2018, he got inducted, Robert.
2018, hell of a year. I can't feel like it was yesterday.
Just like it was yesterday. I'll string it together like this. Arn Anderson made a mention about MJF and how he kind of hopes that he protects his body and takes care of himself because he sees the value in MJF. But in turn, also, Cody Rhodes made mention of wanting a manager.
Wait, what was the MJF piece?
Okay, I can read that.
There was a piece. You just started talking about MJF and Arn Anderson, and then you moved right on. I thought
yeah,
maybe
did I click
skip? Did I click skip to next episode?
Let me go. Okay, so from WrestleBinge, this is the quote. I think MJF is unlimited in what he can achieve in the business as long as you got to take less chances in the business than a lot of these guys and I've seen a lot. I've seen him do things. Were they spectacular? Yes. Were they athletic? Yes. Were they incredible? Yes. But did they particularly need it? And I'm using him as an example, but it's kind of across the board. You don't beat your body up. You only got one to the point that before you know it, you've had a brilliant 5-year career. So Arn just wants people to take better care of themselves in the ring and be a little bit more conscientious of that. And he just used MJF an example. But it kind of made me think about this. The other story of what I was trying to go together was with Cody Rhodes mentioning on Busted Open that he would not be against a manager in WWE. And
no, I don't want Cody to have him. So 2 things.
Okay,
the MJF piece, I agree to some extent with Arn. Max is a gifted athlete. Max can do a lot of really interesting and unique things in the ring, but he doesn't have to do all that because he generates so much heat and so much attention that you can preserve your body. You can protect yourself a little bit in the style that you're working, because as a character, that is doing a significant amount of work for you, and that will help in longevity. You're no good to everybody if you're on the shelf and not on TV. Cody thinking he needs a manager. Cody does not need a manager. And quite frankly, baby faces that have managers, it does not, in my opinion, does not work, because it makes you seem lesser than. You're not your own man. The guys who have been the top stars have stood on their own 2 feet. Hogan did not have a manager. Hogan was, I'm believing myself. I got my fans behind me. That's all I need. Steve Austin didn't need anybody with him because he doesn't trust anybody. He hates everyone. John Cena, had this unbridled confidence that he goes out there and it's, you can't see me, let alone see somebody helping me. Cody, when he had Arn, it felt like it was a crutch. It was holding him back. Every time Arn got attacked, it made Cody look foolish. Cody having to consult with Arn about what to do makes him seem less self-assured. And as a top babyface, you can't have that. But, Arn knows what he's doing. He is a member of the Four Horsemen, and he is now a member of the Four Horsemen Network.
That's correct, yes. And today, the new episode of Straight Talk with the Boss, Magnum TA and Greg Gagne dropped on the Four Horsemen Network, forthorsemennetwork.com. Go to that. You can check out the new episode. It's episode 20, and we talk about sometimes having to shoot in the ring and sometimes getting real stiff with some people on there. Hey, promo code Blue Chew. Promo code Rumor for Blue Chew. But check that out. Go to forthorsemennetwork.com. And tonight, too, go to RVD TV at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be live on there with Bill Alfonso. So, second episode, right down the middle with Bill Fonzie Alfonso. So check that out. Go to rvdtv.com. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to cover RVD. That's going to be our first big main topic. So be on the lookout for that tonight. And Robert, what do you got cooking, man?
We got Russell Rose, which we dropped 2
Working
episodes.
stiff.
Working stiff. My God. I'm going to put a belt on and go watch a pay-per-view after this. Working Stiff used to be Wrestle Roast, but we changed the name because, roasts aren't in fashion right now or anything.
No.
But it's myself, Dan St. Germain, Mike Lawrence, and Scott Chaplin. We talk all the goofy stuff going on in the world of wrestling. It's a hell of a lot of fun. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. You can go back. We never put our archive behind a paywall, so we did literally over 100 roasts of wrestlers past and present that you can go check out on Spotify, iTunes, and the like. And while there, you can check out the audio version of Rumor and Innuendo. Rumor and Innuendo streams live every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern, whether my internet likes it or not. Streaming on the WW Creative _ISH X account, the Dominic D'Angelo X account, the SE Scoops X account, the Podcast Heat X account. Podcast Heat is who makes this show possible. The Working Stiff X account, as well as on YouTube. I'm Working Stiff, Rumor and Innuendo, and ad-free shows. My gosh, we are everywhere. And more importantly, my gosh, we are out of time. So on behalf of the suddenly a St. Louis Cardinals fan, Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpelis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Tito Martinez.